Good evening. Welcome to the house of St. Eusebia. We run this house as a center for the study of Christian spirituality. And we are very happy this evening to welcome His Grace Bishop Maxime of Western America, and also another friend of our house for many years, Dr. Olivera Petrovich. And the purpose of our meeting is to launch this magnificent book that you see before you, a weighty volume, but also a fascinating volume about the holy places, the Christian heritage of Kosovo and Metohija. And there are a number of learned and informative articles here, but also colored illustrations of a very high standard of, in particular, the frescoes in the different monasteries of Dečani, of Peć, also Gračanica, the remarkable Christian monuments from the medieval period, masterpieces of Slav Byzantine architecture and art. So, first of all, I would like to invite His Grace Bishop Maxime to speak to us about Kosovo and about this book. Let me recall visits that I made to Kosovo. The first visit I made was in the year 1970, and I traveled there by car with my parents. And at that time, it was still in the era of Tito and Yugoslavia. Some people had indeed suffered heavily under the communist regime, but at that time things were quiet, and we traveled with reasonable ease and comfort throughout Kosovo. But even then, I was conscious of tensions, and in certain villages, because I was wearing my cassock as an Orthodox priest, I realized there was hostility from the local Muslim population. So you are quite right. It is not just the era of Milosevic. The roots go back far earlier to difficulties in that part of the world. But on my later visits, the difficulties were far greater. I went with a group of pilgrims, I forget what year, and we were in a bus, but wherever we went in Kosovo to visit the shrines, we had to have escort of police. Police cars had to go with us to ensure that we were not attacked or disturbed. Now I suppose it would be scarcely possible at all to go as an organized pilgrimage. The Serbian people has suffered greatly over the centuries. The history of Serbia from the 14th century has been a story of martyrdom under the Ottoman Turks and then more recently. But Serbian Christianity, the Orthodox heritage of Serbia, has not been destroyed. The Serbian people have remained faithful to their orthodoxy, to their Christian inheritance, and I believe they will continue to be faithful to their past. And yes, whether the Serbs will be able to return to Kosovo, that is very problematic. But at least we should not forget the history of Kosovo, as the Serbs have suffered elsewhere but have endured and still continue to flourish. So let the memory of Kosovo continue to flourish, even if it is difficult for us to visit there. But there still are Christian foundations in a number of these places. Most recently I visited Dečani, and there is a flourishing monastic life there in the monastery, but 24 hours of the day they have to have a guard from the troops of the United Nations, and whenever they leave the monastery they must always be accompanied by United Nations troops to protect them. Let us pray to God that the situation will grow easier. But at least the memory of these places should remain alive. It has been one of the great gifts of Orthodoxy that it has a sense of beauty as a quality of God and a quality of the Christian life. And this book is a testimony to the beauty of the works of art in Kosovo, which have not only aesthetic value, but a specifically Christian value as well. This, I think, is the definitive book. I can't imagine a later book that will be more thorough than this. It is all in English, so you won't have any problem over language. And I would urge you to acquire copies while they are available at this very modest rate. After all, if you go into one of the restaurants in the centre of Oxford, you could very easily spend £80 on a 3-course meal with wine. So why not buy this book, which will be a treasure for you for the rest of your life. Now, we do have some refreshments, so there's an opportunity for you to come and talk to Bishop Maxim and Dr. Petrovich, and to look at the book. Don't spill any wine on it. But please talk to one another, don't run away. The refreshments are in the room just across the passageway. Thank you for coming this evening. Thank you, Bishop Maxim.